Hello, hello, welcome back to Talking Tunes, and today we're going to be talking about the 6 tunes on Rush's 1976 album, 2112. Last week we looked at an album by Nickelback, and I figured, you know what, this week I'll look at an album by another Canadian band, a much better Canadian band. But yeah, so this is Rush. This is by far their most famous album, if not... Moving Pictures from 1981, but this is an amazing album. At the very least, the first side is released in 1976. It marked the end of what I call the first wave of prog, and sort of opened the second wave of prog. As they were Canadian, Canada didn't really have enough of this sound yet, but Canada is a much worse country than America, and due to the fact that Rush were Canadian, they did have a little bit more of an American sensibility, so I can see why Rush got so big after this album came out. Starting off with 2112, a 21-minute suite, which is a piece of excellence, alright? This is a suite that tells of a future where creativity is outlawed and the world is governed by high priests of the Temple of Syrinx. All right, and it begins with this with this synth note and just this dun dun, like there's sudden two-note progressions, that go very, very, very quickly, and then it just erupts into this excellent instrumental opening, and then we get to it's called the overture, and then we get to the explanation, the Temples of Syrinx. These men, they rule the world. They live within these temples that contain computers that contain all of the knowledge of their civilization, right? All of the knowledge, everything that will ever be needed in this civilization is contained within these computers. But is it, though? We come to Discovery, which starts with a soundscape of a waterfall and notes being played. And as our protagonist, who is not one of the priests of the Temples of Syrinx, we've moved away from that. Our protagonist finds the guitar. He picks it up, he tunes it, and he begins to play it. And he goes, "What can this strange device be? When I touch it, it gives forth a sound. It's got wires that vibrate and give music. What can this thing be that I've found?" And as he discovers the power of music made by man, and not totally driven by religion, he goes, I must show this to the priests of the Temples of Syrinx. And he shows it to them, and they go, "Yes, we know, it's nothing new. It's just a waste of time." They know about the guitars. They know about music not driven by religion. But in their eyes, that's what drove the previous civilization, the elder race of man, to leave the planet, to their civilization's decay. And it's the priests of the Temples of Syrinx that can keep it up. And they basically send our protagonist home, and defeated. "I wander home through silent streets and fell into a fitful sleep. Escape to realms beyond the night. Dream, can't you show me the light?" This is part 5, Oracle, the Dream. And he is shown visions of a world where music and creativity rule, and technology beyond his comprehension, and he's just so amazed by it, and he wakes up and he wishes that the moment wouldn't pass, but it has. But having seen this vision, he realizes that he cannot continue to live in a world without such wonderful things. This is what is detailed in Part 6, Soliloquy. And he describes these things, and he's just like, I can't go on in a world without those wonderful things. So he kills himself. And then we come to Part 7, the grand finale. With just an excellent guitar solo, just almost restating the overture, and it ends with this warning: attention, all planets of the Solar Federation. We have assumed control. Is this the elder race of man, or some outside threat? We don't know. We're left at a cliffhanger. And so the song ends. Fantastic. Fan-fucking-tastic. However, there's still another 18 minutes of music to look at, and that starts off on side 2 with A Passage to Bangkok. It has an Asian-inspired guitar riff, a dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. It's got lyrics about a trip through the continent. It's got an okay guitar solo. I'm going to be honest, Alex Lifeson's guitar work really only shines in certain moments. It's not like David Gilmour, where after a certain point, every solo is fucking awesome, at the very least. It's just, Alex Lifeson, he's a very good guitarist. He's just not up there, he gets plenty of moments to shine. But I guess on this album, after the Suite, he was just burnt out. But yeah, Geddy Lee is of course on vocals, and Neil Peart, or Part, or Pert, or whatever, or however it's pronounced, he wrote most of the lyrics on this album. He wrote all of the lyrics to the title track, and he does a fantastic job on the drums. But yeah, A Passage to Bangkok, there's not much there. It's nice, but, I don't find myself wanting to listen to it on its own. Song number 3, The Twilight Zone. This is a song inspired by the 1960s anthology sci-fi television show, which is perfect material for Rush to pilfer from. Their sound is very sci-fi in a way. But yeah, it's got lyrics that reference several episodes, and the accompanying music is appropriately sci-fi and weird and a little bit travel-y. But, again, not much there. There is a little nod to the intro, I think, where Geddy Lee goes, na 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 na, you have entered the Twilight Zone. I think that is meant to, look at meant to be a play on the two-note thing from the intro of the Twilight Zone. But yeah, again, it's cool. It's just nothing to write home about. That's kind of the overarching problem with side 2. Not to say that any of the songs on side 2 are bad. It's just they kind of blew their load too early with 2112. This is why I think putting the Suite at the end of the album is always better. Except for Close to the Edge, which I have done a review of, and I will link that in the description down below. Lessons, it steals chords from 2112. This was clearly written because they needed a couple of more minutes on side 2, and it doesn't really do much for me. It steals chords from the title track. It's just kind of here, and it's very clearly, the last song written for the album. Tears, this is an acoustic song about some kind of relationship with hints of mellotron and flute. That's it. That's all the more there is to Lessons. Again, not a bad song. It's just, or no, not Lessons. Tears. Yeah, Tears is the song. And then the final song, Something for Nothing. This is the second best song on the album, so I'm happy that they did save this one for last. It's basically its thesis is revolutions cannot be resolved with only violence or only debate or whatever. Violence and debate have to work in tandem. I don't think there's a single revolution that has happened aside from the collapse of the Soviet Union without violence, either before or afterwards. And you can't just sit around and wait for shit to change. All right, like you got to take initiative. You got to vote. You got to get out there. If you want things to change, you got to do the work. You can't just sit and wait around. Right? And that's the thesis of Something for Nothing. You can't have something for nothing. You can't have freedom for free. And that'll do it for 2112. And despite how lukewarm I am on side 2, I'm still going to leave you with this verdict. Go buy it, listen to it many times. 2112, the song, is totally worth the purchase, and side 2 is just a great bonus. Obviously, I don't have a record, so I'm not calling it, so I don't have to flip it over halfway through, but there is a very clear divide. I don't collect vinyl because it's a lot more of a pain in the ass. CDs are better, anyway. But, yeah, at least for me, they're better for me. If you want to collect vinyl, go nuts. But, yeah, go buy it, listen to it many times. It's fantastic. And that's going to do it for today. Obviously, Rush would go on to make lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of money. I believe behind Pink Floyd, they might be the second best selling prog rock band ever. But yeah, that's going to do it for today. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. If you have something to add, please feel free to do so in the comment section down below. If you want to continue along this musical journey with me, please feel free to subscribe. If you want to hear me talk about something other than music, I have a podcast with two of my buddies. It's called Dorkies. I will leave a link to the most recent episode of that in the description down below. And if you want to hear what I happen to be listening to that day, or a 15-second segment at least, you can follow me on Instagram. I will leave a link to that down below. I post a 15-second segment of a song in my story there every single day. And with that, I would like to thank you all very much for watching, and remind you to stay weird and keep jamming. See you in the next one.